3 hours flew by. Damn. 3 hours flew by.
3 weeks flew by.
3 weeks
What's
flew
up,
by.
Dibs?
Dan Dibley's back.
Good Lord.
Hey. Breath of fresh air. Sorry you had to come back to this.
Guys, Jimmy G's back. Who knew?
Unbelievable.
I mean, and of course, Sam Lubman, the great producer of the Morning Roast, hit me with, I know your daughter was born today, but Jimmy G kind of stole the headline. Jimmy G back the same day my daughter was born.
Incredible.
Which will forever be a part of my history. I'm trying to enjoy the birth of my daughter, and my phone's blowing up. Oh, must be congratulations. No, Jimmy G's re-signed.
Unbelievable.
That's pretty funny.
It's hilarious.
That is funny.
And now here we are 3 weeks later.
I went straight to the window when I saw that, and I laid $1,000 on you to be back on air before Jimmy was the starting quarterback. So you owe me $1,000.
My fault.
You owe me $1,000.
Dude.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Have at it.
I mean,
Go. Let's hear what both you got to say.
I mean, what's to say? I'm in Eureka, and I get a call. My water's broken. My dad's memorial race, because I was taking a stretch for a classic Dibley move. And so I come, I have to speed back from Eureka.
Yeah.
Got here in time, obviously, for the birth. Baby's born. Jimmy G's back. And it's like, what? Jimmy G's back? Okay, but, Trey Lance, and then here we go. We skip ahead. Monsoon, everyone trying to excuse, that for Jimmy G. I thought Kyle should have opened up the offense a little bit sooner, and here we go. That gets put so far on the back burner after yesterday. I'm not saying that it's grounds for a firing, because Kyle's not getting fired.
No.
He's not on the hot seat.
And he shouldn't.
But, my God, the gross mismanagement
Hubris.
of your assets. It's hubris, and it's also, you have a quarterback, but you don't want him to throw the football, so we're just going to continually grind him into the line. And I said this last week. I called into one of the changeovers. I don't even know, because my world of changeover right now is diapers every 2 hours.
Nice.
I always do. Hey, time now. I talked to my daughter. Time now for the changeover.
I hope they don't last 25 minutes. But
It depends. Depends if I don't catch her, and I'll make my Kansas City Chiefs analogy coming up later. My daughter is the Kansas City Chiefs, but I said last week in the changeover, this is gross mismanagement. He's going to get the guy hurt, and here we are. Now he's hurt, and thank God they have Jimmy G.
So I think we all need to figure out where you want to put your criticism, whether it's Kyle Shanahan or the 49er front office, and it's ... TBD. And here's what I mean by that. The reason Kyle Shanahan got so chippy with everybody yesterday is I would imagine it to be very, very offensive to have it insinuated to you as a head coach that essentially the blood is on your hands. Like, you went out there and you hurt this guy for calling a play that he's not wrong, gets called in many, many sidelines across the NFL. And it's, he's Lamar, he's Josh, he's Trey. And all of these guys have their own attributes, their own differences and whatnot. But I think the answer I want to get to is, why were you running your offense that way? Not that you were running it.
Right.
We see that you were running it, and yes, in a perfect world, do all four of us and most of the people listening think that running quarterback power is what you want in an ideal world? No, it's not. So why were they doing it? You can either go, well, Kyle's an idiot. I don't subscribe to that theory. Kyle's not a moron, okay? So why were they doing it? And that's what I want to get to. And we may
what
not,
do you think?
Well,
He's got trust issues.
My guess is the same thing I said when Jimmy Garoppolo got re-signed. Trey is not what they wanted him to be at this point. It doesn't mean he's never going to be good.
He can't throw a screen?
I don't know, Joe. All I know is what I see. I see Jimmy Garoppolo come into the game, and 5 of the first 6 plays that are called are drop-back throws.
Right. Yeah, and they're wide open.
Right. So why are they doing that?
It's a great question.
Okay,
but
so-
that's again. Then he has to take culpability. When you are the main guy in charge, you have to accept some responsibility. Every corporation,
Of course.
when the BP oil spill happened, the guy had to go out and get filleted. You get paid not just to make the big bucks and make tough decisions, but also to be the face when things go down.
Well, Exxon
You're
had
not
an oil
wrong.
spill.
Oh, is it Exxon? I thought it was BP.
No, it was BP, but I'm doing my Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Well, Exxon had an oil
Yeah.
spill.
But I'm just saying,
a lot of gas companies and stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. So no, you're not wrong. What I'm trying to figure out is what do you want to blame him for? Do you want to say you got Trey hurt, or do you want to say let's go back to a year?
This whole making is his mess.
Do you want to go back a year and a half ago and let's figure out how on earth do you develop and win a Super Bowl at the same time? We've been saying this for 2 weeks.
So you think they're closer to the Super Bowl today than they were?
Of course they are.
You do.
Of course.
They have a quarterback who they trust to throw the ball.
And so do they.
But
you can see it.
But here's the
all
thing,
over.
though.
You can see it on
But
the
you know what's so
Why
funny?
trade
Hold
in
on.
the first place?
Hold on.
Then why pick that guy in the first place?
Can I say
That's
something?
fair.
Can I say
That's
something?
fair. Yeah, of course.
He trusted Jimmy Garoppolo yesterday. Did he trust Garoppolo in Super Bowl 54 to run a 2-minute drill before halftime? Did he trust Garoppolo to
Not
throw the
enough.
ball on
In
3rd and
February?
7
Not enough.
in Green Bay? Did he trust Garoppolo to throw the ball in Dallas late in the game? Did he trust Garoppolo against the LA Rams?
No.
So all of a sudden you trust Garoppolo?
No,
No, these
This
are
is why
Shanahan
no, he
issues.
trusts-
These
he
are
trusts-
Shanahan issues.
I totally
He trusts
agree
him
with you.
more. He
He's
trusts him
going to-
more.
As we fast forward
Yeah,
through the
So,
season.
and so do all four of us.
So listen.
Admit it.
No. Do I trust Jimmy?
I watched
No.
6
Absolutely.
interceptable passes as the
No,
game went
I
on.
do not.
I go,
I knew you were going to
boy.
go there, and we'll
Oh,
get there in just
boy.
a second. We'll get there in just a second. Shanahan is going to enter year 7 next year because I'm with you, Dibs. He's not going anywhere.
No.
He may have.
He's got, what, 4 more years? He's got this year and 3 more, I think?
Jets not firing him.
No.
He's going to go to year 7 with the same quarterback question. How many coaches make it to year 7 and can't figure out the quarterback?
Yeah.
Think about that. From day one, when you admit, yeah, I didn't really scout Mahomes and Watson, I was hell-bent on Kirk Cousins. And then midway through the year, after selecting C.J. Beathard in the 3rd round, and I told you this, Shasky, every single day, there's a trickle-down effect from that first draft when you took Solomon Thomas. You took C.J. Beathard in the 3rd round, and midway through the year, you're like, oh, no, we're screwed. We can't get Cousins, and Beathard's not the answer. Let's go trade for Jimmy Garoppolo,
He took
which was a
Driscoll,
gift.
too, in the 5th round.
Yeah.
But
I thought Driscoll was Chip. Maybe I'm wrong.
Third round pick is not drafted to be the guy. That's not a 3rd round pick.
But you didn't have anybody.
I
didn't have
understand
nobody.
that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
You didn't have
nobody.
And everybody knew
Nope, you
that was still a TBD. Was it going to be Cousins? Was there going to be door number 3?
I mean,
No
they had
one
Brian
knew.
Hoyer was the starting quarterback.
Right. I mean, Davis
still-
Mills was drafted in the 2nd round,
Yeah.
and nobody thought
But
he was
Mark,
going
I
to be
think
the guy.
4th or 5th.
But
Maybe
Mark,
I'm wrong.
they
Maybe
decided-
I'm wrong.
But they decided to select the
I could be wrong.
I hear you.
quarterback.
I hear what
You
you're
know what I
saying.
mean?
In the
That's not the guy.
draft, they had the number 2 overall pick. They trade down to 3 and still had Mahomes and Watson on the board. I know Watson, what he's gotten into
And
then.
he got hired to fix the quarterback spot.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. As much as we would talk about the organization and the flow, there you go.
First pick of the 3rd round.
We'll meet
First
in the
pick
middle.
of the 3rd round. Anyway, go ahead.
Davis Mills. But no, part of why he's here, and I'm going back to that era. You had 4 coaches in 4 years. You were in quarterback misery,
Yeah.
okay? No one could. This was the guy who was coming off of an MVP season with Matt Ryan, and he was the quarterback whisperer.
Yeah.
And he was going to be the offensive guru who was going to hand select his guy to move you in the direction. Remember, we were coming off of the Cap, Alex Smith thing, Cap kneeling, Blaine Gabbert. Like, there was quarterback misery, and he was the guy who was supposed to change them and usher them in this. And I feel like we're having the same conversation.
conversation.
Well,
No,
this
that's
is
all
the guy
fair.
that they handpicked.
Yes.
He handpicked him, but in a year, he hasn't developed to the point where you trust him
Exactly.
to throw it, and that's why they had to run him
You're
over.
running
So
quarterback delays on 3rd and 6 to get first downs
So,
instead
but
of
that-
dropping back and throwing the ball.
But that's what I'm getting at. Something went wrong, but in my opinion, we don't know what it is yet because we're not going to know what Trey Lance is now for at least another year. But something
Maybe
went
more.
wrong
Maybe
because you have look. You read Mike Silver's article. You have got a locker room that was
Clearly divided.
clearly divided already, and this is what we said
I have
3
no
weeks
problem
ago.
saying it. The white guys were in on Jimmy Garoppolo. You could see Dwelly and McGlinchey and be real with yourself.
Nah,
Watch
take
the
it easy.
celebration.
I'm not going
Watch
there.
Juszczyk at the podium.
I'm not
You
going
could
there.
see it. He was clearly the
I'm
one
not-
feeding the information.
I'm not
It's
going
okay to admit it.
No,
okay.
I'm not going there. You can go there in a larger sense. I'm not taking the 49er locker room there. I'm not.
Here's
doing
what
that.
I'll say, though. A tweet last year from Ed Werder, September 26, 2021.
I saw this.
Despite injuries at running back, Shanahan doesn't view rookie quarterback Trey Lance as a solution to create rushing yards. He's not Lamar Jackson. Trey is a quarterback who has the ability to run, but to just line him up and run him, I mean, the game's too physical. And literally, in 4 Trey Lance's starts against Arizona, you're shaking your head.
I don't like this.
16 carries, 89 yards.
What don't you like?
Because this is
Look,
everyone's
Mark-
grabbing this, and we're leaving out a major piece of the contextual nature of what just took place. The question a year ago was, you have no running backs. Can Trey Lance fix that? So, in other words, the question to Kyle Shanahan was, can you have this guy come in there and essentially be a running back? In other words,
Mark.
the defense knows that he's going to run the ball. That was a completely different scenario than being QB1 and using him part-time as a runner.
Even as
which
QB2.
so many teams do.
Even as QB2. Shanahan admitted he's not Lamar Jackson.
Of course,
we're not just going to line him up and run him. What happened in Arizona last year?
But this is a bizarre statement.
What happened in Chicago last year?
Hold on. What
happened in the first half of Houston?
What you guys are upset about.
He literally ran him and lined him up and ran him in the linebacker.
You guys are upset about him getting hurt because he's, quote, not Lamar Jackson. Lamar's half his size.
No,
Lamar's half his size, and he's way faster. It's completely different. So the facts that Shanahan are throwing at you, look, I'm with you guys. I don't want the quarterback running up the middle. If you're running the quarterback up the middle, it's because you don't think he can do other stuff. And that's a question.
This is literally a contradiction.
I disagree.
How he said he was going to use
Trey Lance. I think they're completely different scenarios. One was, he's not my quarterback. Do we bring him in because we have no running backs? And now, this is your quarterback.
Right. I mean, you do have running backs. But you do have running backs now, and you're still using him like a running back, even though yesterday.
He ran the ball 3 times. He ran the ball 3 times yesterday.
But he was on pace to run it 15 times. He ran it 3 times because he got hit
hurt 5 times in 12 plays.
14 times.
5 times in 12 plays.
Let me ask you guys this.
5 times in 12. He ran a quarterback.
Did you think he was going to survive the year?
I never do.
No
Let
chance.
me ask you this.
Thank you.
When you watch Josh Allen play, do you think he's going to survive?
No, and this is why I said that's a false equivalency to look at Josh Allen
I'm not making
and say
the
that's the way to play. Because every time he runs, I go, God, they are tempting fate.
I agree.
Tempting fate.
I agree.
I'm a risk mitigator.
I never understand why teams are running guys that way. But when Kyle says that in the postgame presser, he's not wrong. They do. I feel like Josh Allen takes way too many risks on the field.
They don't run Josh Allen as much as the Niners were running Trey Lance. If you look at the stat, he was running it about 7 times a game last year.
And he's storing that thing about 38.
And you know what, Josh? Well, that's the other thing. And because Josh has a lot more options on the field. One thing also that Josh doesn't do that I don't understand, and we made a joke about it, like Trey made a joke about it 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I've never slid before in my life. Neither does Josh. And Trey doesn't. And he should.
Well, but that's part of. It's hard to slide when you're running. You can't slide on that play. You can't slide when you're running between the tackles.
Not on that play. But can we all agree? The guy literally made a joke 3 weeks ago.
No, but this is why you got to protect him,
and this is why you got to develop him. You're the head coach, and this is your quarterback. You need to develop him, and you didn't develop him to where you felt confident with him throwing the football. So now the only thing he can do as your starter that you feel comfortable with him doing is throwing the deep ball and running. And lo and behold, now he gets hurt.
Then you blew the number 3 overall pick then.
Well,
and you blew the number 3 overall pick.
Correct.
And that's a fire. So now we have another first-round pick that's not panning out. As of right now, you blew it out Solomon Thomas. You blew it out Reuben Foster. You blew it out Mike McGlinchey.
I'm not ready to say this.
You may have blown it out Javon Kinlaw after trading DeForest Buckner. A linchpin in your defense to draft another defensive tackle who hasn't been healthy. And now the number 3 overall pick is out for the year. And we still don't know who he is.
You're right, but I'm not ready to do that to Trey's career.
I'm not doing that to Trey.
I'm not doing that to Trey's
As of right now, Mark,
he's got a long road ahead.
Yes, he does.
No idea
right now,
who
he's James Wiseman. It's basically where they are.
I almost feel worse, because he hasn't played in 4 years. And we're looking at 45 months, 7 starts, in a weird way. And here's James is going back to
7 starts.
James is going back. Steph's still there. Trey's
he's talking about the one in college, too.
My bad. Yeah. Because the one 2020 starts. 45 months. Yeah, my bad. Yeah. But at least Wiseman stepping in where it's hey, ease yourself in, young fella.
And he's not the quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
So guys, that's what I'm saying.
This is so hard.
Some mistake happened here. A major mistake happened here. I don't know what it is yet, though, because that's what I'm saying.
Well, no matter what the mistake was, Kyle Shanahan made it.
He has to own up to some culpability.
He did do that yesterday.
He's the one who picked the quarterback. So either
there's a pie chart.
Either he misidentified Trey Lance as a talent, or he misused Trey Lance, or he didn't develop Trey Lance. Either way, this is on Kyle Shanahan.
He didn't draft him by himself. I love that we do this. Kyle's arm was twisted into Trey Lance.
But he is the final say.
He had the final say.
Well,
he had the final say, Mark.
Yes.
Come on, don't do that.
No.
John Lynch said that. John Lynch said that to Kyle. This is your choice. This is your quarterback. This is your offense.
I've been saying this for a year.
We can't say that it's a group decision now. We can't do that.
I've been saying this for a year. I agree with you, but how many times do you hear that? Have you not heard that in the national media and the local media?
I don't listen to the national media.
Kyle's arm was twisted. He wanted Mac Jones. I don't buy it, neither do you. But all I'm saying is we've got to find what took place here. It is too simplistic to simply say Kyle went out there and killed Trey Lance. That's not fair. You cannot blame the coach for injuries in football. We didn't blame when Jimmy got hurt. We didn't blame Kyle. We blamed
Did he put
Jimmy.
him in a position to succeed?
I think he literally thought that was all he could
Exactly.
do.
Exactly. So
That's
he did
exactly
put him,
what he was
he
trying to
put
do.
him in-
He's
he put him
clearly
in
not the
position to
genius.
have the team
He's clearly
succeed
not the
because
genius
that's all
that I
he could
thought he
do.
was.
I don't use
Wow.
that word. This whole
No,
genius
because
guru
look at
thing. Forget it. Guru's
You're
on our
talking
station.
about
He's not on the
sustainability.
49ers.
We're talking about sustainability for a young player. Part of the job of head coach. Winning is the biggest element. But when you make a move that they did, as bold as they did, he has an obligation to not only develop him, but to put him in a position not just to succeed, to sustain and last the year.
So here's the deal. Every single football coach, for better or for worse, is going to make the same decision if I put two things on a platter. And I said, you can use the word sustain.
Yeah.
You can physically protect
You
your
think
players.
Andy Reid's running him like
hold
this?
Hold on.
No, I'm asking you.
Physically,
Before
let
you
me finish. No, I want to finish.
Not to cut you off.
Two platters. One is physically protect your player. The other platter is win. They're going to make the same choice every coach, every time. I spent all afternoon yesterday after this happened because I wanted to really sit with this. And I spent most of the day texting former NFL players and saying, is this on Kyle? I couldn't find one. Every single one of them said, this is what he thinks his skill set is.
Were they watching every snap
Right.
for the last
Yes.
2
Right.
years? Because the
Yes.
context, I doubt that.
Yes.
Because the context of
Okay.
seeing him get his body
I
slammed.
know who I texted.
He was on pace for 400 hits this year. Hits, quarterback hits.
I don't like it either, but clearly there was something wrong.
Mark, we
I tried
disagree on this, and that's fine.
No,
I'm
we
okay with
don't.
it. No, we do.
No, we don't. Because I tried to tell everyone 2 weeks ago when they re-signed Jimmy. My point was, clearly, in my opinion, Trey is. Everyone thought, oh, you're giving up on Trey. My point that day was, it feels to me like Trey is not where they hoped he was today.
That can be true.
I thought it was
That
more of
can
an
be
indictment
true.
on Nate
Yeah, but that
Sudfeld
can
and
be
Brock
true. But to
Purdy.
say that every
It's been
coach in the
proven.
league is going to use him the same way, that I disagree with. Alex Smith was used very different with each quarterback that he had, each coach. Then
I didn't
so
say that.
different from you
I didn't-
did. You,
no, I
you
didn't.
literally said
I
every coach will take that
no,
plan.
every coach would do what
So
they
then
felt.
I'm asking you out loud, when we go around the league, how many guys are running their quarterback 15 times a game the way that they did?
Those who feel that that's the only way they can win.
All right, well, we're
that's
talking
my
in
answer.
If that's the
circles.
only
We're
way
talking
you
in
can
That's
circles.
my
win,
answer.
then you shouldn't have him on the field
Exactly.
because
Yeah,
he's
that's
not
what I
good
said.
enough.
No,
So
I agree.
if you really wanted to develop the quarterback,
Here we go.
you would have sat him for another year
guys-
because he's not
and-
ready to
and
be
this
out
is-
there.
this is going the same way
How does
this always
Shanahan?
does.
Hold on. How does Shanahan get a pass for that? If Trey's not ready to go and he's playing a guy who's not ready to go, this
Exactly.
is year
No, he gets-
number
he gets
6
no
of
pass.
the
That's what I'm
Shanahan
saying.
He gets
era.
no
and he
pass
still
for
has
me.
to figure out the
He
quarterback.
doesn't get a pass. I want to.
Yes, he is. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be back for year 7.
Well, we're obsessed with firing people.
I'm not
The
firing
49ers
nobody. Nobody
He's
wants to
made it
fire
to the
anybody.
Super Bowl
Nobody's
and
talking
two
about
conference
it.
championship
Yeah,
games.
he's
But
not
he
going
still
anywhere.
has
Credit for that.
But he blamed the quarterback for the Super Bowl loss. Jimmy Garoppolo took all the hits for Super Bowl 54. All the hits. And I stood up here and said, well, what about Kyle Shanahan and some of his game planning? What about his play calling in that game? What about the play calling in the NFC Championship game against the LA Rams? What about the Green Bay game? Like, there's all these questions with Shanahan. Yeah, it's year 6, and we're still having the same quarterback conversation. A little different, but really a conversation about the quarterback. I thought we were hiring an offensive guru, right?
I thought the 49ers were again one of the top 7 favorite teams to win the Super Bowl again too. I don't know what we're all doing here. You
Because
know
of
what I
the
mean?
defense?
What have their
What are we
odds?
doing?
Have
Their
their
number 3
odds
pick
moved
went
since
down.
yesterday? Their
I
odds
understand
probably
that,
went
Joe.
down
We
same
don't even know
direction
who he is.
as they were yesterday.
This is the boldest trade in 49er history.
I know, and I'm going to say this again because I know exactly where this is going, and I'm going to get pinned in a spot that's not my take. Something went wrong.
But he picked Scangarello. He picked all the people that were in the infrastructure.
Poor decision was made at some point.
So then someone's got to take some heat.
But I don't. But this wasn't it. This wasn't it. We're not blaming him for someone getting hurt on a football field.
No, nobody's blaming
It's-
him,
to
but
me,
you
it's
put
the
him in a
entire
position.
body of work.
I feel like
Right.
a lot of
It's
people
the
are.
entire body of work. It's the
Put him in a
quarterback
position
selections.
where you're
It's
running these plays,
trust
Shasky,
issues.
up the middle.
Yes.
Our
yes.
flex
They
moment
all
last
go in
Wednesday,
there.
Mark, was
Trust-
literally,
trust
if you
issues is a fair
continue to
point.
run this game plan, he's going to get hurt.
Right.
And he literally got hurt 4 days later. It's not on Shanahan, but
It's
you can put
the
the quarterback in a better
And
position.
if Jimmy goes down again, we're going to have this exact same question on Shanahan.
When Jimmy goes down
you know
again.
it's coming.
I mean,
I'm
Don't
rooting
do
for
that
them to
to
win. I
Jimmy.
want them to
Don't
win.
do that to Jimmy.
I could feel the Brock Purdy start coming.
Jimmy's been hurt 3 times in 5 years. Trey's been hurt 3 times in 4 starts, and we're going to say
For
Jimmy
sure.
can't stay healthy.
And-
I mean,
They both can at this point.
They both can.
I mean, and none of their running backs can either, nor does their star tight end. Their entire team is always hurt.
Trey Lance ran the ball 60 times in Arizona last year, walked out of there with a banged up knee.
He could have tore his ACL.
Couldn't even play. And we were like, wait, that's what we waited for?
He's trying to
A
win.
glorified Air Force quarterback?
He's trying to win, but
I don't
at
love it
what
either.
cost?
He's
Exactly.
Yeah, he's trying to win. So if you want to move back and say, I think there's a lot of evidence right now that they picked the wrong guy or that they even just took the wrong approach by even drafting a quarterback, that to me is more fair today than Kyle hurt Trey. That to me is more fair.
Did you see it coming a mile away?
No,
I saw it coming a mile away. I said it last week. I called in from my paternity leave for crying out
If I was
loud.
going to say it that way, then yes, I see injuries every week.
It's football,
I
but
see it
how many
coming.
times has Tom Brady been hurt in his career? Not as many because
Different players.
he doesn't endure the same amount of turmoil
Because he can't.
that Trey Lance
because
has
he
done.
can't. Kyle said
Right.
it last week.
How about Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers is a guy who runs the ball. He runs it smart.
And has had season-ending injuries before.
Yes, but he's played 16 years.
And he won't do that anymore. He doesn't run like that. Different players. Again, I'm not saying this worked out. It clearly didn't. But in the moment, he is saying, this is how we can win. This is what Trey has on a defense.
But that's a short-sighted view because you could have
Exactly.
won a million other ways. That
You
Seattle
were
team
running the
was
ball down
giving-
their throat. Down their throat. Were you not?
This is a long season, guys.
TDP
He's trying to-
looked great.
He's not trying to win Sunday. He's trying to win Super Bowl. And
But
that's
you gotta
what-
win Sunday to
He's
win
trying to win
Super
Super Bowl. Why are you throwing your hands up?
No, because they had that game in hand. Getting to
all
the
right.
Super Bowl
Do you
requires winning week to
Do
week.
you want my opinion?
Yeah.
Do you want them to barrel it down to one sentence?
I'd love to hear
You
it.
can't develop and win at the same time. You cannot
But they're
develop
doing
and win.
that at the offensive line.
No, they're not.
Are they not?
That's at quarterback, Joe.
Okay.
At quarterback.
They can't?
Give me the team who's doing it. Go ahead.
They're developing a right guard, a center, and a
Exactly.
left guard.
Quarterback.
And you didn't do
Give
what
me
you
the
needed to do.
quarterback.
Ben Roethlisberger literally happened. Mac Jones was trying to do that for
Roethlisberger
New
went
England.
13-0 with the
Mac
AFC
Jones.
I'm just
Championship.
saying,
How's
you're
Mac
asking me
Jones
for an
doing?
example. I'm giving it.
Okay.
Joe
They just won in
Burrow.
Pittsburgh.
Joe Burrow was doing
Joe-
it
Mac
last year.
Jones just won in
What do you
Pittsburgh.
what? They went to the
Patriots
Super
are 1-1.
Bowl.
Joe. First of all, Joe Burrow and the
And
Bengals
they look terrible right now, but
How
he
about
was
this one?
developed.
How about this
second.
one? Phillip Rivers.
What about him?
They tried to develop him, and they were in a lot of games.
Carson
they
Wentz.
made
He had a
an
lot
AFC
of games.
championship
He
game.
never
They made an
won a
AFC
Super Bowl in
championship
his
game.
life.
Okay,
Kyler
but they
Murray?
were close.
And that
They were
that
close.
was not early
Jared
in his career.
Goff.
Yeah, right. None of these guys were first-year starters.
Kyler was. Kyler started day one.
And they were terrible by the end of the year.
But by year two, they've been trying to compete for a
Guys,
playoff spot the entire
guys,
time.
We're all talking about Trey Lance being 22 years old
Yeah,
and
for
hasn't
sure.
played enough football. We want the 49ers to win the Super Bowl, yet we want Trey to develop and do all the things.
The Baltimore Ravens, Mark, the Baltimore Ravens literally said, Joe Flacco, our greatest quarterback in franchise history, take a seat.
Yes.
We're going to the rookie.
Who won
And
a
the rookie
Super Bowl?
led them to the playoffs.
Yep.
Now, they lost in the playoffs.
Yes.
And I get it. Lamar's had failures in the playoffs.
Trey might have gone to the playoffs too. But by the way, if we're going to do that, I'm not going to let you guys, he's not Lamar, and then compare him to Lamar.
Who compared him to Lamar?
You just said Lamar
No,
Jackson.
We're using that as an example
we're using
of a
that
player
example as
who
a guy
took their team
players
to
are
the playoffs.
developing.
Not
Exactly.
style
As
play.
first-year starters,
was.
first-year starters, deep into the playoffs, win a Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan is telling you with his play calling what they think Trey is right now.
I think that's the most basic, nuanced thing to say. Yet the same thing could have been said for Jimmy Garoppolo in the second half of Dallas, the whole entire game of the Green Bay game, and the entire LA game.
Five-year
That game
starter
plan.
by then. What
No, you're saying game plans.
The fact that you're starting a guy who you
Exactly.
think that about, to
And
me, is a
you
bigger
literally ran
issue
the
than
same game
anything.
plans.
That is something
And
I agree with.
the fact that you
That I
identified
agree with.
this player, and after 2 years now, you still don't feel like you can put him in a position
can't
to
run a
actually
slant?
play the position, that to me is a bigger issue. Now, Kyle didn't, quote, get him hurt because football players get hurt, but the fact that that is the way that you think that you have to use this player, that to me is the most damning part of all of this.
That's what I said the morning after Jimmy was signed, and everyone called me a Trey hater. Look.
Well, they only signed Jimmy because they had no other choice.
They're telling you. No, of course they did. They could have cut him. I mean, they're telling you what they think with their actions, and nobody wants to hear that.
Well, what they should have done
Nobody
then
wants
is
to
they
hear
should have
that.
done this with Jimmy G 5 weeks ago and made it an actual competition and
That's
said,
what
you
I
know
s-
what, Trey?
Then
Trey's
that's-
not
now
ready.
that's
fair.
Trey, you're still
Shesky,
not
did I not
ready.
say that?
You said that all summer.
Jimmy
all
G, you go
summer.
ahead
He
and
said it
start
all
All
again.
summer I said, let him compete.
Let
Totally
him-
fair.
They should have brought Jimmy G
Totally
back
fair.
because if you didn't think that Trey Lance was ready to play the position and he wasn't based on the way you used him, then you should have just let Jimmy G start. And because you're right, you can't
agree
really
completely.
develop a guy and try to win a Super Bowl at the same time. It's almost impossible. You should have had Jimmy G come back and start, but you didn't.
Listen, if Mike Silver's in the locker room and people are telling him, I can't say it, you can, we would rather play with Jimmy Garoppolo. If that's the way the locker room
Screw those
feels.
players in.
I mean-
it's like the fans who are saying, I'm Team Jimmy or Team Trey. I thought we were Team
I
Niners.
agree with you, yeah,
I
on
thought
that,
we were
yeah.
Team Niners. And so for players to go out and say that as soon as he
But
gets
if I'm a
hurt,
wide receiver and I know that Kyle Shanahan's not going to let Trey throw the ball, if I'm Brandon Ayuk,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying he said this,
Or use check
if
the
I'm a
fullback
wide
and I know
receiver-
that I'm not going to be out there in the pistol.
Exactly. They're not running a lot of 21 personnel with Trey Lance, but
it was very obvious.
if
to
I'm
me.
on the field and I'm a receiver and I know that Jimmy G is going to get
Yeah.
to throw the ball and Trey won't, of course I'd rather have Jimmy
Yeah.
Garoppolo out
right.
there.
Unbelievable.
well, it's just and
Unbelievable
we
turn
can
of
all put
events.
to bed they're united, they're behind him. That's clearly not the
Yeah.
case.
No, they
Well,
are
unity
now.
is a week-to-week proposition.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Everything I thought I knew. Who knows?
Who knows? I'm guessing you guys are going to talk a lot
Denver.
about Jimmy Garoppolo
I'm talking a
Denver.
lot about
You're on to Denver.
and Trey Lance.
my 3-week paternity.
Oh, yeah.
leave.
Hey, Tips. Welcome back.
Dodger
Welcome
sweep.
back.
Shot at 89 on Saturday.
Welcome back.
Played pretty well. Yeah,
I guess I can
thanks.
take the cue cards down
I
now.
thought your golf clubs were in the storage
Oh,
unit.
I got them out of storage,
Found
baby.
them.
Healthy baby. Where are my clubs?
Good for you.
Yeah. I
Good
can
to have
only
you
I can
back,
only do
dude.
so much.
Good to have you back, Dibs. What a day to be back.
These breastises have no milk in them, Mark. What's wrong? We can't run material anymore?
That was TMI.
Willard
It's
and
too
Dibs.
early.
Do it and do it.
I
Dibs
can
is
only
back.
do